Congratulations, Maga. Your vote for Trump is the reason why senior citizens will be kicked out of their nursing homes. Before you flood my comment section screaming fake news, I'm going to provide some verifiable facts. Google's free. You can go look at the bill. 60% of nursing home residents rely on Medicaid to cover their care. That is a fact. And Trump's new tax plan, it cuts the provider tax by 41%. This slashes how much support states receive from the government for nursing homes. That's a 41% funding cut. That is a fact. The American Healthcare Association says that 1 in 4 nursing homes could shut down and half of their staff will be eliminated. That's a fact. So where do these senior citizens go? Some might have family to take them in, but for others, this is the end of the road. There's no place for them to go. This is what your vote for Trump is doing. It's pushing vulnerable seniors out of care and onto the streets. And that is a fact. This isn't America first. This is our elderly last. If you voted for Trump, you made this happen. I hate to say it. This is on you.
To all my farmer neighbors, my name is Susie, and I live in rural Missouri. You were warned over and over and over. We told you there was no drag queen story hour. There were no furries in our school using litter boxes. But you guys refused to call the superintendent of the schools like I did. I called Rolla Public Schools and asked Dr. Dare if there was any truth to that. He laughed and said maybe I was watching too much TV. We told you that China signed 20-year contracts with Brazil for soybeans. You laughed in our face. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I do not want to bail you out for the next 20 years, and I will fight against it. China signed 20-year contracts with Brazil for soybeans because of Donald J. Trump. They don't want our soybeans. They don't want our beef. They don't want our wheat. They don't want anything we grow. As far as we're concerned, China can stick it up our ass. And can you blame them? Can you really blame them?
Hey, what's up, America? The health insurance company Humana just denied my 96-year-old grandmother's insurance claim. My 96-year-old grandmother had a stroke about 2 weeks ago and she had to go to the emergency room. And so my grandmother has Humana insurance. Humana insurance. She's been paying on it for years. So a couple of weeks ago, my grandmother had a small stroke. Her arm went limp. She had to have an MRI and a CAT scan. Stayed in the hospital for a day and a half, was told that she had to be monitored because there might be other strokes that were coming. But then after a day and a half got the all clear, but then she has to go see a neurologist to make sure that no more strokes occur. So then just yesterday, my grandmother gets a letter denying her insurance claim from Humana because the stroke she had wasn't bad enough. Yeah, that's right, Toots. The stroke you had, it wasn't bad enough. So now you, as a 96-year-old woman, now have to fight with an insurance company and go through the claims appeal process. So now my 96-year-old grandmother who just suffered a stroke is forced to fight with an insurance company to get them to cover $26,000 in costs that she's been paying on for the last decade to Humana. But as soon as she has one claim, they deny her immediately, saying, quote, she wasn't in the hospital for 2 midnights. But yeah, that's how their policy is written. They won't cover it unless you're in the hospital for 2 midnights. So obviously some unscrupulous lawyer who will be burning in hell shortly is the one that wrote that shit. But what kind of a piece of shit fucking health insurance company denies you for having too little of a stroke? Oh, did I mention she's 96 years old? Yes, they denied a 96-year-old for not having too bad of a stroke. So that's what Humana does. Humana! Yep, Humana Health Insurance, denying 96-year-old stroke victims as a matter of course. You need to be brought up on criminal charges. And I'm going to make sure every politician in charge knows what pieces of shit you are and the unscrupulous garbage you do.
Did you guys see that woman talking about her father getting kicked out of the nursing home? Well, apparently the nursing homes are kicking out their Medicare patients. And she was like, why would they do that? And everyone in the comments was like, honey, this is what you voted for. This is Medicare cuts. This is the big, beautiful bill. And she was like, no, that's not it. Yes, it is. I work in skilled nursing. 90% of the residents that are in there, they are Medicare patients. These buildings stay open because of Medicare. They will close down. They will not care for your aging parents and grandparents for free. They will send them home to you. You will have to quit your job and stay home and take care of them. That means you're going to have to be the caregiver for your father, your husband, your kids. You're going to have to quit your job. You're going to do all this on half the income for your household. This economy is going to suffer greatly when these places start closing down. This is one of the reasons, this is the main reason why I did not want to rely on the U.S. for my income while I'm living abroad. The economy here is bound to crash. When you cut Medicare like that and these places close, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. The dollar is going to suffer. There is no forethought with these people. They have no idea what is happening.
So this is a message to the MAGA farmers who are losing their farms because of the current administration. This is a message to the MAGA veterans and military who are watching their health care be destroyed and workers be fired and billions of dollars going from quality of life measures for troops to the border. This is a message for the MAGA poor who are watching their Medicare and their Medicaid and Social Security getting ready to get chopped. This is a message for all those people who thought things were going to get better. He doesn't fucking care about you. They don't care about you. The Republican Party doesn't care about you. They needed you for your votes. Some still do. The guy at the top, he doesn't need you anymore. He only needed you to stay out of jail and make billions of dollars from becoming president again. And all the Republican representatives and senators, they just needed you to vote for him so that they could help get that giant tax cut for the oligarchs who fund them. They have never, ever cared about you. There's a part of you deep down that may be starting to realize this, and I hope you do, because your life will get better. All of these people, if you're living in red states and all of the indicators of quality of life continue to fall, wages don't rise, education continues to fail, and you're led by Republican leadership, the GOP, and it has never gotten better, only worse, while the rich inside your state get more and more corrupt and wealthy, this might be your time to do something about it. I'm just saying, maybe it was all a lie. Maybe they never cared about you, and they never will.
The nerve of these people, it's absolutely repulsive. Let me tell you something about the farmers. I don't care. I don't care. I hope your farm goes under. I hope a big corporation buys it. And then I hope you have to work that farm on pennies on the dollar. Because there are people who are really suffering today, who got thrown off of some social programs and are going to get thrown off of social programs for the next 2 years because of what you voted for. There's going to be hospitals that are going to be closing. You know, I'm contributing to the problem myself. When I go to the store, I turn my milk around. I buy Maple Hill. It's from Kinderhook, New York. I'm not buying milk from anywhere else. My dairy, Cabot, Vermont. My cheeses, my sour cream, my butter, Cabot. My eggs come from California. I never checked on where my products came from. I cared about quality. I cared about price. Now I'm checking, and I'm only buying it from the states that matter, because Arkansas, Nebraska, you don't matter. You don't matter. You're not special. You wanted to vote for this? You wanted to fuck around? Here you are finding out. Because you all bitched when Joe Biden wanted to help millions of people on student loans. And they would have gotten jobs in the United States, paid taxes in the United States, spent that money in the United States economy. But no. Nope. That was government waste. And now you're asking for handouts to save your family farm? Fuck you. You don't matter. You're not special. You're not special at all. Okay? My sympathy is elsewhere. My sympathy is for people who need some of these programs, who are getting thrown off of some of these programs. Pick up a book and learn how you just voted against your own interest. And if you still don't get it, you still don't understand, the rest of us are not going to hold your hand. We're not going to wait for you. Okay? Figure it the fuck out. Because you caused other people to really suffer. And then you got the balls to put your hand out and ask for a handout to save your farm. Your hatred is so deep that you supported shutting down USAID. That stimulated the US farming economy while also feeding people who were starving. Oh yeah, but now I have to care that you're going to lose your family farm?
A woman on Twitter said that a lot of people are about to lose their Medicaid and not realize it because their insurance is called something else in their state. Perfect example would be Texas, which is Star or Star Plus, CHIP, Georgia Pathways, New York State of Health, California, CalAIM or Medi-Cal, Maryland, Health Choice, Illinois, Health Choice Illinois. These are just some examples. And people really don't know that their insurance is Medicaid because they don't know what the real name is. I mean, even Florida has an acronym as SMMC. If you're not paying attention, you wouldn't even know that that's Medicaid. All I'm saying is that a lot of people are about to suffer, and it's not a fault of their own. It's just the government doesn't want to help you.
Yep. Them nursing homes finna not take Medicaid, so y'all better get them rooms ready for Meemaw and Pawpaw. Yeah, combine them kids' room. Get rid of the den, man cave, whatever y'all got, scoot it over, because Meemaw and Pawpaw is coming to the crib. I don't want to hear nothing. This is not what I voted for. Yes, this is absolutely what you voted for. Okay? No, I don't want to hear any of that. Meemaw and Pawpaw will be at the crib in 30 to 45 days. All right? Yeah. Yeah. That's where we are. And listen, before you get in my comments with that red, blue, left, right, I don't want to hear none of that, bro. You can put that Trump hat and that shirt on your Meemaw and Pawpaw, but they coming to the crib. You can best believe that. If your in-laws use Medicaid, a lot of these services are going to not accept Medicaid. So yeah, make room.
Hey, Nebraska, is this you? Come on up to the front of the classroom. I have some information for you.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
So I know that when you elected Donald Trump, you decided to put all of your apprehensions aside and elect a person who was clear about his intentions. He was going to get rid of undocumented immigrants, which would cause your primary industry, the agriculture industry, to go down. Then he decided to do away with the farm subsidies, basically welfare, that would just annihilate farmers in Nebraska. But wait, there's more. Those two things are just the tip of the iceberg. I was told from a well-placed source that you guys are considering bankruptcy in the not-so-distant future. They said 6 months or so. So if you combine all of that bad news with these people deciding to vote against you, who desperately need health care. They are and will and have voted for a framework of a budget that would basically annihilate Medicaid in your state. Let me give you a secret. I don't know if you know this, but over 341,000 residents in Nebraska are on Medicaid. That represents $3.7 billion of revenue, of money, of spending that goes to the state of Nebraska for health care. And this is not just health care, just ad nauseum. This is health care that goes to take care of patients and then also goes to fund hospitals in a rural state, hospitals that are desperately needed. Now, this is the kicker. Of that $3 billion or so that goes into the state, the federal government picks up 69%. In essence, only 30% of that money you have to contribute. But the problem is, since you're going bankrupt and all, you're not going to be able to contribute that. You have come into the zone of FAFO. Unfortunately, that map, this map, is going to be your downfall.
We don't want to hear shit when you lose your Medicaid. We don't want to hear shit when you lose your SNAP. We don't want to hear shit from those states when FEMA doesn't show up for your tornadoes, hurricanes, and floods this year. We don't want to hear shit when you figure out that those tax breaks are not for you, but they're for the rich. We don't want to hear shit when you figure out that no tax on tips and overtime ain't even real. We don't want to hear shit when you figure out that he is increasing the debt ceiling by trillions of dollars, which is going to cost us a lot. Because we try to tell you. So you're excited about this bill passing? Just remember, when all that shit happens to you, to not open your fucking mouth.
There's a little bit of good news coming out of Nebraska. I mean, if you could call it good news. They have identified a way to cut their budget shortfall pretty much in half. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to the story that's happening in Nebraska, there's a lot of panic that the state is going to go bankrupt. And there's some saying it will happen in just the matter of a couple of months because they have a $400 million budget shortfall. There's a lot of different reasons for it. Let me tell you what they are. But a lot of it very much is self-inflicted wounds. And now they're kind of dancing around going, oh my God, what did we do? Nebraska is experiencing right now at a state level what we're all about to face at a federal level. So I think it's important to pay attention there because this is what happens when you give giveaways and subsidies and tax breaks to the wealthy and you do all of these things that in the moment feel right because they get you votes and they get you popularity and they get you all this shit. And then when you have to pay the bills, you realized you fucked yourself. And that's exactly what Nebraska has done. I think the number one reason that Nebraskans should be concerned is that they've lost their immigrant labor. Nebraska was one of those states that had there's a lot of farming, a lot of agriculture type businesses, and they use a lot of immigrant labor. Whether they're documented or not does not matter. There were people who were not native Nebraskans who had moved there and were working there. Nebraskans, like a bunch of other states, voted for Trump, which told their immigrant population, we're not welcome here. Instead of waiting for the jackboot stormtroopers from ICE to come knock on their doors, the immigrants pieced out. We're going to go someplace where people will use our labor and will like us and will treat us with a little bit of dignity. So they probably hustled their asses to Colorado or California or someplace else where they could get work and they could be safer. So rumor has it that this was 60% of their labor force. And when you lose that much of your labor force, you've got no one to pick your wheat, you got no one to slaughter your cows, you're in big fucking trouble. So that's the start of it. They're not making as much revenue. They're not supplying as much food into the food chain, which, by the way, screws all of us. Our food supply is going to be fucked if this happens. So let's just say that. But they also did a lot of other things, right? They put in corporate tax breaks and they did all this other stuff. Now suddenly they don't have a pot to piss in. Their budget committee has gone back to work and they're trying to find places where they can find this money. And they've identified $165 million more in revenue that they can bring in. 65 million of it is from, well, let's just go ahead and raise the taxes on the corporations. Amazing how quickly the money pours in if you make everybody pay their fair share. but I digress. Anyway, they've also done some other things, cut some extra funding. They cut a major portion of funding to the University of Nebraska Medical Center, which is quite frightening for the people who work there and a lot of the research they're doing. Probably have to make a total separate video about that because university hospitals all across the nation are getting crushed right now because they're losing a lot of their funding. But one thing they've also decided to do was to take the cash out of their slush fund. Every state kind of has this emergency fund. And I get that they think, okay, this is an emergency. We got to use the slush fund. So they're putting their slush fund toward their budget deficit. I understand that. But what's happening is, in case you don't know, Nebraska is one of those, let's use the word socialist states, meaning they are one of those red states that gets more from the federal government than they put in. Okay, they get a ton of subsidies for their farmers. They get a ton of stuff. And sadly, there's a lot of people in Nebraska who are poor or even poverty level citizens. And they need government funding. They need things like Medicaid and SNAP benefits and those types of things. Well, when you've got the Doge dickheads going, nope, cut it all off. We don't give a fuck who starves. We don't care about poor people. We don't care about children. Cut it all off. What's happening is the federal government will start giving less to Nebraska. And Nebraska is going to be expected to pull herself up by her bootstraps. Not if they've raided their slush fund. If they don't have any money left in their slush fund, they can't help their hungry and poor citizens. So again, it's all self-inflicted wounds because this is how they voted, and they supported an administration that was going to slash. They supported an administration that said, no more brown people. They did this to themselves, and it's very hard to feel sorry for them, right? There's a lot of people on here that are like, bye-bye. But it's a major hit to our food supply. I took some notes. Let me just tell you. They are the third largest producer of corn. They're a big producer of soybeans. They are top 15 producer of wheat. And I don't know if you knew this, but Nebraska, number one in popcorn. They're the number one producer of popcorn. We stand a risk to lose our popcorn, people. But that's not even what I want to talk about. They are one of the top producers of beef. If you've not, there are some exceptional cattle ranchers in Nebraska, and they provide a huge portion of America's high quality beef, but also pork, poultry, and wait for it, eggs. You think they're expensive now? You shut down the state of Nebraska, that's a big hit to the egg industry. Now, the what would be the cherry on the top of the fuck around and find out Sunday is that 43 days before the last election, Nebraska's state house made a Hail Mary to try to change their electoral college process. If you're not familiar, Nebraska has 5 electoral votes, but it's not a winner take all. 3 of the electoral college votes go to, however, those 3 congressional districts. So if 2 of those districts go blue, that's two electoral college to the Democrats and 1 to the Republicans. And then the other 2 are given to the person who the party that wins the overall state. So if the Republicans win the total state, they would get that. So last year, the way it stood to be was that Donald Trump would probably get 4 electoral votes. Kamala Harris would get 1. 4 out of 5 isn't quite enough when you're a Trump-loving, conservative, middle America white man who happens to be in the Nebraska State House. They didn't even want the black lady to get even 1 vote. Oh, no. They tried to change 43 days before the election. They tried to change their electoral college process to a winner take all. And luckily it didn't pass. There was somebody in the state house that said, this is dumb, we're not doing it. So it was dead in the water. But my point being is that this state is led and probably is populated by people who were die-hard, rabid Trump supporters. People who will throw a Hail Mary at the last fucking minute because they wanted him to have an even bigger win. And now they're crying on TikTok because they might go bankrupt. If you're a blue dot in Nebraska, hang in there, maybe pack your bags, maybe go to Colorado. I'm so sorry this is happening to you, and I'm so sad it's gonna fuck our food supply for a very long time. But you fuck around and you find out.
Hi guys, welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. I'm B-Boy. Remember, if it was for the first time I come across my video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share. Okay guys, in today's clip is all about how Maga families, they are really crumbling and struggling. They're really crying out for help of how things they have really changed in United States, in America, and they are saying American dream is no more. You do remember a lot of white Maga farmers and a lot of white people, they are losing their beautiful bill, their big beautiful bigs, and we all know this big beautiful bill was meant therefore to support those rural people who don't have enough money to go maybe and pay in the hospital, and the Republicans went ahead and voted to crush these beautiful bills. And right now there is a lot of rural people who are really crying out for help because they can't afford money to go and pay for medical or for medication, because there are some hospitals when you go with certain kind of a disease, or whether you're infected with such kind of a disease, you can't be able to pay it. Maybe the government has to intervene in through it, and the government was intervening through it, through this big beautiful bill, and it was really helping a lot to help these people pay their bills, to help these people so that at least they can go to hospital without worrying whether they have money or not, because it really covered a lot when it comes to healthcare. And also we have all seen how these white people, they have really come out in large number, especially Maga supporters, of how they're really crying out and of how they are losing their families, they are losing their friends, they are losing their relatives. We've all seen how ICE agents, they have really done a lot to America. ICE agents, they are really terrorizing these people. They are deporting and arresting people. They are detaining people, arresting them and deporting back to their original country, or to their back to their country. And these things really affecting a lot America as a country, and it's really affecting the economy of America, because these immigrants are the same people who carry the backbone of the economy of the United States, because we have all seen how a lot of these immigrants were really working. They had a lot of large workforce toward these white people, toward their farms, toward their other companies, toward these major jobs that could not be done by other white people. And earlier on, we do remember a lot of white Americans suddenly came out in large number and said that immigrants are the ones who have taken their jobs, and they really went ahead and voted for the deportation of all these immigrants. So right now, if you don't have any maybe proper papers or legal papers to stay in America, you are being detained by ICE agent, arrested and deported back to America. But on the other hand, it's really affecting the people who are working, the people who are living in America, because most so especially the farmers in America, a lot of them, they had employed this immigrant, and right now they're really crying out for help of how they're losing their farms, of how crops, they're really rotting in their farms, of how there's no anyone to harvest or pick crops in their farms. And they do remember on that the ones who voted against their own interest, that the one who voted for this, that the one who voted out of hatred and out of racism, because they thought that if they deport all these illegal immigrants, maybe this new administration will convince black people to go and help them in their farm, but they were wrong. And one thing these people really didn't realize or didn't know that is that they really thought that this new administration will just affect other races that are living in America, or they will affect other Americans, not themselves. But Trump new administration is affecting everybody. Trump new administration, it doesn't care your skin color, it doesn't care whether you are white, whether you are black, whether you are Latino, whether you are Mexican. It's affecting everybody that is living in America. And this is the reason why these people, they are really coming out in large number, creating videos, crying out for help of how life it has been difficult in America. Yeah, we all know how life it has been so difficult, or how it has been so hard, because right now the cost of living, it has really risen up. There's no job employment. Those people who are really crying out for help of how there's no job, there's still no job, because they deported almost 80% of illegal immigrants that were in America, but still they are really crying out for help of how there's no job or there's no employment. And we have all seen how a lot of people, they have really lost their job because of how they started their project, and right now there's no anyone who is continuing to do his project. They are losing their jobs. And for those people who are really complaining of how immigrants have taken their jobs, right now there is a lot of workforce. A lot of white farmers in America, they really need a lot of workers to go and pick this food in their farm place, to go and help them to pick those rotting strawberries, those rotting crops in their farms. But right now, as we talk, there's no any white person who has really gone and helped these people. Only a few, and if they can go there, they can't work for full hours. They work for a little time and they say they are tired. And this is the reason why I'm telling you that those people who are really voting for the deportation of this immigrant, they really thought that farm labor doesn't need any skills, that this is the reason why maybe they knew that they were wrong, because farm labor, a lot of people really doesn't know that it also needs some skills. It doesn't go just there and pick those crops or you harvest those crops. It needs some skills, and immigrants really help a lot. And those farmers, or to those white people who have really lost their health status, we really hope this big beautiful bill, it will be brought back, so that at least they can help these rural people who are living in rural areas, because they don't have enough money to go and maybe to go and pay in the hospital. And we really hope things could be better in America. America dream will be still more, and a lot of people will really still admire to go to America, because it's just only a matter of time. We really hope things will be better. President Donald Trump will favor other people, and maybe it will make America great once again. And guys, this video is just for educational purpose, and if it was for the first time you come across my video, don't forget to like this video, give this video a thumb up, and also share it. This video is only for educational purpose, and please be safe wherever you are. May God bless you. Let me see you in the next clip.